Hello, and welcome to Miss Hope's Reading Hour on this wonderful Wednesday broadcast. So glad to be here with you all this evening. I'm so sorry. I want to apologize for my tardiness, okay? Unfortunately, I forgot to plug in my microphone. I was like, oh, wait a minute. People aren't going to be able to hear me. I don't have my microphone in. So I had to take a moment, get my microphone out and plug it in. So again, I apologize for the tardiness, but I am here on this wonderful Wednesday broadcast. And I am so glad to be here with you all this evening. All right. Well, today here in Philadelphia, of course, our young ones had a half day today because remember, half day switched from Friday to Wednesday. But this week, look forward to the fabulous Friday, my Philadelphia school district friends, because you have a half day this Friday too, probably because it's going to be Easter break or our spring break. So hopefully you had a good rest of your wonderful Wednesday once we got out of school early. And for those of you who didn't get out early, I'm sorry. Hopefully you had a great rest of your day after 3 o'clock. Here in Philadelphia, it has been really rainy today. And I was like, oh my goodness, I had to go out earlier. And I went out and I was like, okay, so it's been raining. But then when I had to leave where I was like, oh my gosh, I don't have an umbrella. What am I going to do? But I didn't get soaked. Thank goodness. Well, I got here, didn't get soaked, got a little wet, just a little bit, but not soaked, even though it was soaking raining. Well, hopefully all of my friends in other parts of the country are having much better weather, hopefully. Let's get our disclaimers out of the way. So, the wonderful music you will hear today and the awesome books that we will read. Unfortunately, Miss Hope's Reading Hour doesn't own the rights to any of it. But guess what? It's here for your listening and reading enjoyment. Yes, it is. That is the reason why it is here, okay? And if you would like to donate to the Miss Hope's Reading Hour Library, you know where to look, down here in the ticker for the Cash App handle where you can donate via Cash App, or you can send digital gift cards to the Miss Hope's Reading Hour email address. And if you want to just send books, you can send that information as well, and we can work it out so we can get those books, okay? Now, one thing that I have been thinking about is that starting last year in April, Miss Hope's Reading Hour started. And we are coming up on our 1-year birthday. Can you believe it? I will let you know about what we will be doing for Miss Hope's Reading Hour's birthday. Okay? And I'm thinking of something special. I'm not going to give away any of the things I'm thinking about. But if I'm able to work it out, it's going to be pretty epic, okay? So please be on the lookout for that. And you will be able to participate in Miss Hope's Reading Hour's birthday. And you will find out how you are able to participate, okay? Now, if you looked at the teaser, of course, we are still in the month of March, and March is Women's History Month. Happy Women's History Month to all of the amazing, stupendous, wonderful women and girls all around the world who are making history even now. Because remember, I told you, women's history does not stop with just 1 month or 1 year. It's happening all the time because there are amazing women who are making history right now. Okay? Now, if you saw the teaser, it said, math isn't for girls. And you know, there was a day when people did not think that girls would want to or should learn math. But our first 2 books have something to say about whether math is for girls. Okay? So let's take a look at our first 2 books. So our first book is called Count on Me. I think the little girl's so cute with her red fro, because you know I'm partial to the fro. Okay. But it's called Count on Me. This book is by Miguel Tanko. Count on Me. So that will be one of the books we will be reading today. Also, now I'll tell you, a lot of times when I'm reading books to you all, I am reading them sometimes for the first time, a lot of times for the first time when we come on for Miss Hope's Reading Hour. Because as you can imagine, we read a lot of books, y'all. We read a lot of books together, okay? So I don't always have enough time to read the books beforehand, even though I try, okay? But this book right here, I read this book beforehand and I was like, oh, I'm so glad I got this one in our last shipment. So this book is called Miriam's Magic. The story of mathematician Miriam I had it right. Mirzaki. There you go. I had it. Because you know, Miss Hope doesn't want to butcher anybody's name. I don't want to do it. So this book is by Megan Reed, illustrated by Aaliyah Jalil. Miriam's Magic. And of course, you know we got to keep learning more about our girl Patina by Jason Reynolds. You know we got to keep learning more about her. We're learning more and more. We're learning more and more about her. And you know, the funny thing is I think as we're learning more and more about her in the story, she's learning more and more about things and about herself. So we will continue with our story about Patina. Patty Ain't No Junk by Jason Reynolds. Now, let us get to the books, shall we? So, our first book, Count on Me by Miguel Tanko. All right. And it looks good. And you know what's funny? This go round in the shipment, I got a lot of books that have a dust jacket. The last time, there weren't a lot of books with dust jackets. This time, it's like almost every book I bought has a dust jacket. So, you know how Miss Hope loves it when it looks the same underneath. So, let's get into Count on Me by Miguel Tanko. And this is a Tundra book, an imprint of Penguin Random House Books. At home, everyone has a passion. My dad has one. I would say this is my passion too. I love art. Just something to learn about Miss Hope. Miss Hope loves art. And my mom has another one. What do you think her passion is? I think it's science. Oh, you know what? Yeah, I think it's insects. Look at that. Remember, we read a story about the girl who loved insects? That is her mom's passion. My brother loves music, and he's getting very good at it. Wow. Such a big instrument for such a little person. At school, there are all sorts of activities that could be my passion. You see, there's dancing, acting, cooking, which I'm not sure if that's going to be her passion. Oh, and singing as well. Oh, there's some more. Tennis, karate. I've tried them all, but they just aren't for me. I guess she figured if my brother can play the tuba, why not try that out too? There is one thing I really like though. Math. Check her out. She should be drawing. She's doing complex equations. Math is all around us. It's often hidden, and I love finding it. There are geometric shapes on the playground. Look at that. What geometric shapes do you see? I see squares and triangles and cubes. You never think of that, but that is so true. And when we go to the lake, I skip stones to see the concentric circles form in the water. So, if you don't know what concentric circles are, they are circles that get bigger and bigger and bigger from the middle to the outside. I have never been successful at skipping stones. I tried that before, but didn't quite get it. We live in a world of shapes, and I like to play with them. Look at her playing with her blocks. It's fun for me to find the perfect curve. Wow, that looks like a pretty awesome slide. Where else are there curves? Oh, look at the fence back there. Those are pretty decent curves. And solve difficult group problems. Oh, look at that. There's a whole lot of food on that table. How do you divide it up amongst everybody? I use math every day. Did you know that you use math to make a paper airplane? Think about it the next time you make one. I know that my passion can be hard to understand. Now look at that picture. Many people think that is a super easy picture to draw. But as someone who went to art school, making those perfect squares and lines is not easy, okay? But there are infinite ways to see the world. And infinity is something that people study in math. Let's go back to that page. Infinite ways. You can see it by the shapes, by how many things there are. When you look at that picture, how many other ways can you think of to see the world? There are infinite ways to see the world, and math is one of them. So, looking at this picture, how would you use math? I guess you'd try to count the stars. I don't know how easy that would be, but it would be pretty fun to try. Of course, you know Miss Hope loves looking up at the stars. So, we're going to see a little bit of her notebook. My math. Whoa. Fractals. A fractal is a never-ending pattern. The patterns used in fractals can be different sizes and directions and are used over and over to create an ongoing construction. I see lots of fractals in nature, like on those dandelions that you blow to make a wish. Then, basic polygons. A polygon is a flat shape with straight sides that is fully closed. Polygons can have any number of sides. I love to play at finding polygons in hidden objects. That's pretty cool. That is funny when you think about it. You can look at one thing and see all types of different polygons. Look at my glasses. Polygons. Concentric circles. Concentric circles are circles with a shared center, like the rings on a cut tree or the circles that form when I skip stones in the lake. Types of curves. A curve is a line that isn't straight. A curve can be open like a spiral or closed like a circle. My favorite is the parabola, or my other favorite curves are these. Look at those concentric circles and curves. Oh, if you are an artist, you should love this book. Whole lot of ideas on how to draw different things with things we talk about in math. Solid figures. Solid figures are shapes that are three-dimensional. I know the names of some solid figures. There's the sphere and the cylinder, the cube, the cone, the pyramid. You use all of those when you're building things, blocks. Oh, wow. Types of trajectories. A trajectory is a curved path on which an object moves through space. I see trajectories when a soccer ball is kicked or when someone is on a swing. I like to try to predict the trajectories of my paper airplanes. Look at that. Kinds of sets. A set is a group or a collection of things that have at least one common characteristic. They can be intersected, added, and divided into smaller sets called subsets. Like if you have a set of marbles or a set of candies. Then you can divide them up. Oh, and this is a note from the author. To the people who follow their passions and reach for the stars. He wrote this book for you. Oh, I like this book. Count on me. This would be a good book for any girl who likes math, girl or boy, or who likes art. Because as someone who's been to art school before, we learn about all of these different types of shapes, but we don't think about it as math. But it actually is math. So math is everywhere when you draw. It's so funny. One thing I always had trouble drawing was the human figure. But when you start off drawing it, it's just a bunch of circles, ovals, squares, rectangles, triangles. You start off placing different things with those shapes, and then you put more detail into it until it looks like a person. If you ever saw someone draw, you'll see that. Even when you're doing architecture or you're drawing a city, you're using shapes the whole time. If you're a sculptor, when you're sculpting clay or you're sculpting out a piece of stone, you start off with simple shapes. And then with those simple shapes, you put in the details. Math everywhere. If you're a chef, guess what? You got to use math. Anywho, math is everywhere. So glad I got to read that book. If you have a girl or a boy who loves math, or they're interested in different types of careers, even music, her brother is really good at music, and you definitely have to use math when you're reading music. Such a good book. I'm so glad I got to read it with you all. Now for our next book, Miriam's Magic. The story of mathematician Miriam Mirzaki. All right. Oh, and it does look the same as well. Look at that. All right. Oh, look at the inside of that. Look at all that math. Miriam Mirzaki was a storyteller. Every night before she went to bed, she would tell her sister tales of fierce adventurers, brave tricksters, and wizards with powers beyond compare. No matter what kind of trouble they got into, they used their wits to find a solution. Every day after school, she and her best friend Roya would roam the swoops and curves of her city's busy streets. Their favorite block was crowded with bookstores, and they spent long afternoons dreaming themselves into plots of their favorite stories. That sounds like fun. Me and my friends used to go to the bookstore too, actually. Every weekend, she spread long rolls of paper on her bedroom floor, then crouched in a ball to scribble and color the worlds she imagined. They were intricate and beautiful, each detail designed to make her favorite scenes shine. Together, her art and stories made magic. Oh, beautiful picture. Miriam wanted to be a famous writer when she grew up. She loved her reading and art classes. During the war that tore her home country of Iran apart, girls and women hadn't been allowed to attend school with boys, or sometimes even at all. But after the war was over, politicians started new schools to allow girls' talents to grow. You are part of a lucky generation, Miriam's mother told her. I would say so. But when it came time for math each day, Miriam felt the opposite of lucky. Miriam was a storyteller. She was not a mathematician. The numbers made her head spin. How could she care about something so pointless and cold? She would rather doodle and dream. I must say, I felt the same way. When Miriam was 12, her teacher announced they would be learning geometry, a new kind of math. Miriam sighed. But geometry was different from any math she'd known before. Every number held a story. It made those numbers into shapes, and those shapes into pictures. 1 degree of difference could make a triangle acute or right. Removing a Y shape from the end of a line showed that it was a segment, not a ray. Miriam dreamed of magical shapes. They looked like bulging light bulbs and endless figure eights and layers of donuts. She made up fantastic tales about them. How many lines would it take to draw them? What kinds of patterns could cover them? If there were 100 or 1,000 or 1 billion shapes like them, could you tell the same stories about them all? Miriam came to love these number stories like she loved the characters from her favorite books. In high school, Miriam and Roya both entered the International Mathematical Olympiad, a competition for young mathematicians. They were the first girls to make the Iranian team. The first year, they each brought home a medal for their efforts, but it wasn't the grand prize. Miriam and Roya wanted to be heroines, the first girls to win first place for Iran. Together, they trained long hours to prepare for the next year's competition in Toronto, Canada. Wow, that is pretty amazing. Who knew that there was an Olympiad for math? When the judges announced the grand prize, Roya and the team cheered loudly. Miriam had gotten a perfect score. Wow, congratulations, Miriam. Miriam was even more certain now that she wanted to devote her life to the stories numbers told. After college, she left Iran for graduate school at Harvard University in the United States. She and her professors would talk about new formulas and theories in English for hours while she scribbled notes in Farsi, her native language. When it was hard to solve a difficult equation, Miriam covered her house's floor with big sheets of paper and knelt to trace them with loops and lines, just as she had when she was young. Wow, even that looks beautiful. By now, Miriam was married with a child of her own. She drew so much that sometimes her daughter, Anaita, would tell people proudly that her mommy was a painter. Her mathematical drawings were pretty beautiful. As she got older, Miriam's geometry stories and pictures became more complex. She wanted to stretch the limits of what humans understood about the idea of infinity, equations that went on and on without end. She crafted mathematical formulas as if she were plotting the twists and turns of a suspenseful novel. It's not only the it's not only the question, but the way you try to solve it, she would tell her students. Oh, she became a teacher. Miriam began to write papers about her findings. Other thinkers would gather from far and wide to hear her speak. For one tough problem, she imagined a twisty mirrored room where a thief was hiding. With the help of her pictures, Math told her where a security guard would have to stand to protect valuable treasures. Wow. I bet you that would help someone who worked in a museum, even a bank. People even called one of her discoveries the magic wand theorem because it worked like magic to solve many problems that scientists had been puzzling over for many, oops, I skipped a line. Because it worked like magic to solve many problems that scientists had been puzzling over for more than 100 years. She explained it was using the image of a pool table with balls that zigged and zagged forever. If you covered the balls with paint, how long would it take for their scattered paths to color the table completely? Oh, now see, that's an experiment I would want to try. You got paint and the pool balls. I would want to try that. Actually, I would want to try that with my students. Like so, let's put a piece of paper on the floor, put a border around it. Oh, let's get back to the story. I gotta focus. Got an idea. Miriam's magic wand math helped people all over the world. Astronauts could plot safer courses for their rocket ships. Meteorologists could predict weather patterns with more speed and accuracy. Doctors could understand how dangerous diseases grew and spread. Wow, all of that from that one theorem. That's pretty amazing. Look at what math can do. Okay. And in 2014, Miriam received an email from the International Mathematical Union telling her that she had won the Fields Medal, the most important award in math, for her magic wand. She was the first woman and the first Iranian to ever receive the prize. Miriam was proud but not boastful. She just wanted to help others discover the amazing worlds math helped her see. She couldn't believe that, as a child, she very nearly gave up on it. Wow. Who knew there was a high prize for math? We learned so much together. Now, even more people knew about her talent, but she had a secret that only her closest friends and families knew. Optimistic, curious Miriam was sick with breast cancer. For 3 years, she continued storytelling as the cancer spread to her liver and her bones. When she died in 2017, her home country of Iran mourned, and her picture was on the front page of newspapers around the world. She represented bravery and courage, even though she was often the only woman in the classroom, the youngest to lead a research project, the smallest to speak in front of hundreds on a stage. She never let that stop her from sharing the extraordinary stories that numbers told. At Miriam's memorial, Roya, a math professor herself, spoke about her best friend. She told the story of a bright girl hungry for knowledge, who also had a kind heart and a beautiful mind. She reminded the crowd that before Miriam was a mathematician, she was a storyteller. But magically, she was always meant to be both. Wow. The end. So there's a pretty long author's note. Don't want to read all of that. But what an awesome story about Miriam. I know many people, even when I was in school, were like, what am I going to do with this math that you want me to learn? I'm not going to use this in my life. So, just like the other book, if you have someone who really likes math, Count on Me would be a really good book. But if you have a student, or my parent friends, you have a child who's like, I don't like math, I don't want to do math. Math like, what am I going to use it for in my life? I mean, I might need it to count some money, but other than that, I don't want to do that. This would be the book for them because it shows just how much math can help other people. Math can help meteorologists to predict the weather quickly and more accurate, can help scientists to discover how diseases spread. That's pretty amazing that math can do all of that. And again, those artists that you have who love to draw, but they're just like, I can't stand math. I don't like it. I don't want to do it. Math tells stories. Math makes pictures. So this would be an awesome book for them to teach them, you know what? Math can do a whole lot more than you think. It's not just awful. It's not just something that's really hard, but it's actually something that can help a lot of people if you learn the story that it tells. Such great books. I'm so glad I got to read those with you all, especially books about something that was really, really hard for me when I was in school. I did not like math at all. I almost failed the 9th grade because of algebra. I was like, oh my gosh, this is so hard. But I learned to get through it and learned a lot. And then once I started helping students like with their homework and in class, I was like, oh, wait a minute. I remember a whole lot more than I thought I did. And so now I'm able to help students with their math work now. And as an artist, sometimes I do have to use math. I have to use it if I'm making a picture, if I'm etching glass. I have to figure out just how much supplies that I need, how long it needs to be. I have to use measurements and all that stuff. So listen, math is everywhere. And even if it seems a little hard now, it can actually be quite enjoyable if you learn how to see the story in the math. Well, my friends, you know where we are. we are still learning more about our friend Miss Patina and her sister Madison and Uncle Tony and Momly and Ma and the girls TNT and Becca at Chester Academy. And who knows? I just thought of something. I wonder if maybe some of her friends from her old school will come to meet some of the friends at her new school. I'm just wondering. Just came to my mind. Also, the Defenders track team. We got to see what's going on with them too. So, we are in chapter 7. And we did learn that Patina's mom goes to something called dialysis. And people who go to dialysis, usually their kidneys are not functioning correctly. So they have to go and they have to get their blood purified to help their kidneys work better. And she sends her mom a smiley face on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays when she goes for dialysis, because it makes her mom feel good. But it makes her feel good too that she's able to bring her mom some joy. So that is where we are now. Let's see where we are in chapter 7. Oh, yes. And now she is talking about the lunchroom at Chester Academy. It's pretty small, probably because it's a pretty small all-girls school. But you know what happens in the lunchroom? People make friends, people make enemies. So let's see what happens in the lunchroom at Chester Academy. Chapter 7 of Patina, Patty Ain't No Junk by Jason Reynolds. Point is, there was never enough seats, which was okay, because I never sat down anyway. I would basically just do a few laps around the room, scarfing my pasta bolognese, which I found out was not pasta and bologna, but was actually just regular spaghetti. But yeah, I just circle the room because when you keep moving, people think you're going somewhere. Like you on a mission and shouldn't be bothered. Like you busy. And that's better than people realizing that you're not busy at all. That you're not okay with lunchrooms that don't have trays and that ain't big enough spaces to disappear in, and that don't stink of week old dirty mop water, which I now know is the familiar smell of love and friendship. Usually, on the 10th lap, my food would be gone and the bell would ring. I had it all timed perfectly, but today, on lap number 2, barely into my salmon teriyaki. Ooh, I wish they could have that at lunch. Which, by the way, should be called teriyaki salmon, the same way barbecue chicken is barbecue chicken and not chicken barbecue. I swear. Chester. Anyway, on lap 2, Becca stood up from her seat like a bird who just popped its head out of its nest and waved at me. Well, not at me, but she waved me over. And I felt funny, like confused and weirded out and skeptical. And yes, I can't front, a little excited. I cut between the tables, holding my plate steady, and once I got to where she was, smack in the middle of a crowded table full of, well, you know, girls on either side of her eating and talking and laughing, she said, "What are you doing?" "What you mean?" I replied, pretending like I hadn't just been acting like a lunch monitor trying not to drop my plate while forking my fish. "I mean, how come you're not sitting?" she asked. The girl beside her, a girl I'd seen every day but never really met, whipped her face toward me. 2 faces looking at mine, 4 rosy cheeks, 4 mascaraed eyes, 4 bazillion strands of blonde. Oh, I'm good. But you never sit, Becca pressed. Like, ever. And before I could either drop my plate or say anything, Becca bumped the girl next to her, who then bumped the girl next to her, who bumped the next girl to her, who happened to be Macy Franks, holding her teriyaki streaked plate into a styrofoam, folding her teriyaki streaked plate into a styrofoam half moon. They all scooted over, squishing together, making a sliver of free space on the seat. Was this some kind of joke, a trick, a scheme for Becca to milk me for info about Frida or something? Either way, I was tired of eating standing up, so I set my plate down, slowly climbed over the bench, and slipped my legs under the table. Then, as if none of this was a big deal, Becca turned back to her conversation, a ditzy discussion about music and space, and I turned back to my salmon teriyaki. Yeah, kind of awkward. After lunch, it was time for my favorite girl group. I mean, history. Miss Lanford was standing at the board chewing the last bit of her lunch as we all filed in and took our seats in our assigned group clusters. Don't forget to figure out when you're going to meet outside of class to work on this. Not everything can be done in school. Miss Lanford wiped crumbs from the corners of her mouth. Looked like she may have had crackers for lunch. Definitely not salmon teriyaki. Hopefully today everyone is prepared to share with their partners some more new findings about their person you all have chosen. Hey, I said first, scooting my chair up to the desk. TNT sort of spoke back. Sometimes their highs sounded more like hmps, but only to me. Their highs to Becca came with weird, no-touch hugs, but whatever. Hey, Patina, Becca beamed, much warmer than the other two girls, as if I hadn't just been sitting next to her at lunch. She pulled out the materials we put together yesterday. Well, really, the stuff I put together. The photos of Frida I found on Google. Then the three of them looked at me like I had something magical to say. I returned the stare, blank face. So, anything new we should know about? TT started but couldn't remember Frida's name. Frida? Yeah, Frida. Anything new we should know about her? She cocked her head to the side. I imagined her brain oozing out of her ear. You tell me. Me equals running out of patience. I watched the movie about her online last night, Becca blurted out, all excited. Well, I watched some of it. There's Spanish in it, and that threw me off. But I saw the part where she was in school and on the bus with her boyfriend, who, by the way, was hot, just saying. And the bus got in an accident and gold dust went everywhere. And the next thing you know, Frida is just lying there all bloody. A mess. And then she's got a cast over her whole body. She painted butterflies on the cast after the cute boyfriend moved to Europe, which was like, what? No. So, yeah. TNT turned their attention back toward me to see if Becca was right, as if I was some kind of expert on gold dust, butterflies, and blood. That's what's up, Becca, I said, smiling, nodding. But there's some details you left out. Here's the thing. At this point, I had already come to grips with the fact that this group project was going to be a Patty project. Miss Lanford told us at the very beginning that there would be one grade given, so everybody had to do a share. But how in the world was I supposed to tell the tailors to get it together? How was I supposed to say, yo, I ain't doing all the work? I guess I could have just said that, but I didn't want no static. I didn't want to be on nobody's bad side, especially since I wasn't even really on nobody's good side yet. Matter of fact, I wasn't on nobody's side, period. Man, I missed Cotton. I know that's such a random thought, but in moments like these, I missed her bad. And what made it worse was that I couldn't even talk to her because Barnaby Middle was on spring break like everybody else. Chester's was the next week, and her grandma took her on their annual cruise trip, which Cotton don't even like because she says she don't do nothing but sit around with no cell phone service, eating shrimp all day and looking out at all the water she can't swim in while her granny plays slot machines. But if Cotton was here, if she was in this group with me, she would have just made up all types of silly stories. Oh, Frida, she was the first woman in Mexico to go to the NFL. Oh, Frida, she invented the flute. Used to play with James Brown and them. Oh, Frida, she was the first woman to have a day named after her, Friday. By the way, Thursday was named after Thurgood Marshall. That's Cotton. She would have turned everything into a joke until TNT realized it wasn't. None of this was. This was about a number, a grade, 4. I needed a 4. Even if that meant I had to do 3 other people's work to get it. I pulled out my notebook and started running. Pages stuck together. Running down more facts about Frida, filling in some of Becca's holes. She also went to one of the top schools in Mexico. It was probably like this one. Becca nodded. She was in. The other 2 were still holding out. I tried one more time to make a connection, and that's where she met Diego Rivera, who at the time was painting a mural in the school auditorium. That's the fat man, right? Becca interjected, excited to share more of what she must have seen in the movie. But it came off kind of mean, so she added, I mean, I didn't mean it like that, but that's him, right? Right. And what's really interesting is she ended up marrying him once she healed from the accident. Not right away, but a few years after. The fat man, TT chimed in, just to confirm that we were still talking about the same Diego. What did he look like? Becca sifted through the papers until finding one of his pictures and stabbed his face with her finger. Him? She could have done better than him. And he looks so old, Taylor scoffed. He was old, 20 years older, I explained. Taylor leaned forward. The drama of that kind of relationship seemed to send some kind of electrical charge through her. Suddenly, Frida was a little more interesting. TT pinched the corner of the picture of Frida, the one where her neck is too long and a small monkey's looking over her shoulder, and turned the picture around. I mean, she definitely could have done better than that guy, she said, studying Frida's face. Yeah, I agree. But he was a genius with a paintbrush. And I guess that's why she chose him. People used to call their relationship the elephant and the dove. Becca's eyes lit up. Like Beauty and the Beast? Taylor grimaced. I guess, she said. And just then it occurred to me that we were all leaning in, analyzing Frida and Diego's faces, looking through the pictures, discussing something interesting. Sure, it was about their crazy love story, but still, it was a start. And if it weren't for the piercing sound of the fire alarm suddenly going off, we might have been able to get some of the other cool things about Frida. But at least we decided whose house we would go over to do the go over somebody's house portion of the project. Becca's. Taylor and Titi basically begged Becca to host it at her place, which I guess made sense because it was right across the street from the school. Becca said the best day to do it at her house would be the next day, Wednesday, because her grandmother was making cookies, which TNT said was perfect because Thursday was Taylor's mother's birthday and Friday was Friday. I told them I could do it, but I'd have to come by after track practice. And if it wasn't for the alarm suddenly screaming over us, maybe, just maybe, they would have asked about my running. But I guess fire drills are important too. At least they are to 6-year-olds, specifically 6-year-olds named Madison Jones. But just in case there is a real fire, it's good we practice, right? Maddie went on and on in the car after school. From the moment I met her in the hallway, she's been blabbing. So excited about the hustle and bustle she experienced earlier in the day. Fire drill, fire drill, fire drill. It's like that was the only thing that happened in the north wing of Chester. I think we should also maybe practice stop, drop, and roll with Miss S. Maddie barreled on, rolling her hands in the air, just in case somebody don't make it out in time, especially since she make us all walk so slow. I don't know about everybody else, but if there is a for real fire, I'm out of there. Momly snorted. And what about me? I asked. Maddie thought about it for a second. Patty, I can lift you up, and I don't think I can lift you and run. Not yet, I replied, sliding one arm out of my shirt sleeve. Right, not yet. Maddie flexed one of her arms, squeezed her bicep. The ride to MLK Park was the one thing that got Maddie to stop yakking about fire drills. For some reason, she still geeked out at the fancy houses we passed on the way, especially the big white ones. Their wooden castle doors with knobs like golden fists. The fountains and wraparound driveways, the windows, no curtains, like they want everybody to know what they got. But can't nobody really see nothing anyway because of the gates. The tops of the metal posts curling up in the air like witch fingers. And in front of the gates, shrubs. And then the mailbox with the address, which is always just one or two numbers like 6 Chester Avenue or 13 Chester Place. As we moved through town, the numbers continued to climb as the neighborhoods changed, from mansions to weird cereal box communities, where every house looks like a different version of the one next to it. Then on to older neighborhoods, like mine, where the houses are still nice, but have been around for a while, so still made of brick. My address had 3 numbers, 685 Wallery Street. But Ma's address over in Barnaby Terrace has 4, 5014. And I think Ghosts is something like 5 or 6. It's like the less numbers in your bank account, the more numbers in your address. Well, my friends, we will stop there. So, finally, she's breaking through to TNT and Becca. They offered her a seat at the lunch table. So she might possibly make some friends after all. Well, my friends, we are at the end of Miss Hope's reading hour for today. So glad I got to be with you. And I look forward to being with you on our fabulous Friday. In between that, have a very thankful Thursday. Find something to be thankful for. And I will see you right back here on Miss Hope's reading hour. Until then, my friends, I'll see you next time. Bye, friends.